can get the ball rolling. Can someone confirm if you can hear me on the chat box, please, before I go on? Hello, can you hear me, please? Can someone confirm can you hear me on the chat box? Awesome, awesome. Thank you. All right, so I'll share my screen. All right, confirm when you can see my screen as well. Basically, here we go. My name is Salim Munilola. I'm a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, and I'm based in Nigeria. I build AI solutions with Python, and I write technical articles on everything between artificial intelligence and cloud computing, basically. And about 3 weeks ago, I created a AI web translator that's capable of translating between as many as 50 languages. And after I created that, I got a lot of questions about how did I create that? How did I go about it? When you think about something like that, you start thinking it involves a lot of NLP being natural language processing and all that. However, I'm here to just have a little webinar session where we get to educate ourselves on how I did it. It wasn't really that difficult, basically. So I'm going to be walking you through that over the next, say, 1 hour. Okay. All right. So moving to the next slide. Hold on. All right. So basically, we're going to be building an AI web translator by using Microsoft Azure, Python, and Flask. Like I said earlier, my name is Salim Muilola. I'm a beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. The flyer said that I'll be doing this with Chino. However, Chino is not around. So in Chino's stead, we have Michael. Yeah, in Chino's stead, we have Michael. And Michael is a alpha Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. I am a beta student ambassador. And Chino is a gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. Yeah, back to the slides. The prerequisites for this webinar basically is there are 3. First of all, you need an Azure for Students account. Microsoft Azure is quite a generous cloud computing platform. As a student, you're offered $200 in free credits when you have a Microsoft Azure account. You're also going to need Python 3.6 or a later version, and you're going to need Microsoft Visual Studio Code, which is also a Microsoft product. So the learning objectives of this webinar basically is you will learn how to get, also we will learn how to get a Microsoft certification for free, basically, and that's where Michael will come in. Michael will educate us on that. We're going to learn how to set up a Flask development environment, learn how to use Flask to build a form, learn how to use the translator service to translate text, and that will be it. We'll call it a day at the end of all that. And I hope that at the end of all that, you'd have learned a lot. So the agenda, basically how we're going to the workflow, right? So we're going to have a session for the free Microsoft certifications for your students. We're going to have a session for the introduction to creating an AI web application. We talk about Flask fundamentals. Then there'll be a knowledge check. Then we're going to I'll walk you through the practical session, basically. So Michael, if you're there.
Okay. Salim, since I'm not on my laptop now, please can you continue sharing your screen so that I can see the slides?
All right, no problem. I'll do that.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I assume everyone should as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good day, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm an Alpha Microsoft Learn Ambassador. So I'll be talking about Microsoft certifications today. And Microsoft certifications are certification based on Azure, Microsoft Cloud. services. So as a student, Microsoft has always been an organization that pushes for everyone to have technical skills. Like, you must not be a developer to work with Azure. You must not be a data analyst to work with Azure. You can be a business owner, work with Azure. You can be virtually anyone to work with Azure. So let's delve back to certifications for students. So basically, Salim, please can you move to the next slide? Thank you very much. Basically, a Microsoft Fundamental certification costs $55. And the cost of a certification is based on your region. Let's say when Nigeria is $65, in the United States is $99. So this fundamental certificate are certificates that certify you that you understand the fundamentals of Microsoft cloud services.
Michael, we're struggling to hear you. Are breaking up.
I hear.
It's still breaking. Okay, it's better, but it's much better now. Continue.
Let me start on this slide again. Microsoft Azure services. To get certified in the use of these services in Nigeria, it costs $55, depending on your region. But due to Microsoft, their organization pushing for the adoption of technical skills by everyone, like virtually, you can be a business owner, you can be a student, and you can be certified with the use of Azure tools, because there are a lot of Azure tools you can use. As a developer, you can use the virtual machine, you can use it to deploy static web apps, you can use it to, like Salim here used Azure to build his translator app, AI translator app. There are virtually a lot of things you can do with Azure. And the best way to get to show yourself or to get seen, in quotes, is to be certified. Now, as students, we have a special offer to get certified in the fundamental certifications. And we have to make use of this offer as students to get certified, because this stuff is not free.
Are you there, Michael?
Apologize for my poor network. Is everybody hearing me now? So Microsoft has launched the student certification offer. So this offer basically is an offer to students of tertiary and higher education to further their studies using the Microsoft certification, study material, and also the exams. Because, oh my, please, is everyone hearing me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
So with this voucher, a lot of basic fundamental certificates. So please can you go to the next steps to get certified. Salim, please can you move to the next slide? Thank you. Thank you very much. So how do we get started in certification? How do we kickstart our career? So basically, first of all, we create a Microsoft Learn account. A Microsoft Learn account is an account where you can pick any resource on Azure, and I want to know how Azure works. There are learning parts and there are modules. Like, I'm new to Azure, so I'll choose Azure Fundamentals, something like that. So when you sign into the Microsoft Learn, they're giving you the opportunity to work with a vast amount of resources on Azure created by experts in the field. So now, step 2, determine which certification is right for you. There are different certifications in Azure, different fundamental certifications. We have the Azure Fundamentals, we have the Microsoft 365, we have Microsoft Azure data. Microsoft Power Platform, Microsoft Dynamics 365, Microsoft Dynamics 365 ERP, and Microsoft Security, Compliance, and Identity Fundamentals. All these certifications depend on whatever role you are. So these fundamentals are fundamentals. You need them to, so these fundamental certifications, are needed for you to advance, to apply for role-based certifications. Let's say I'm an AI engineer and I want to get AI engineering-based certifications from Microsoft. At first, Microsoft will have to check whether you have a fundamentals in maybe Microsoft Azure AI or Microsoft Azure Fundamental before you get the role-based certification. So, to step 3, verify your profile. To verify your profile and claim your benefits, you have to, with the link given there, you can get started by following the steps and navigate.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. My network is breaking. It's very bad. Yeah. Okay. So to step 3, you have to verify your institution and your profile to get access to these benefits. As Salim said, with the Microsoft Student Voucher, you can get access to practice kits, a lot of things, certification prep, and even the certification exam. So you need to be verified to access these benefits. So in verification, all you need is the name of your school and your profile. You need to do a form of KYC. I won't call it KYC, but a way where you can verify your identity that yes, I'm a student and I'm eligible to get this offer. Then the next step, get certified and earn college credits. Okay, now that's where you have to prepare for your exam and also use the materials. There are a lot of free resources provided by Microsoft. The learning parts, the modules, they even have exam preparation modules. So if you can utilize that and use the practice to be able to pass whatever fundamental exam you're sitting for and earn college credits, depending on your region. Let's say we're in the United States. So you can earn college credits and even shorten the duration of your course of study in the university or higher education. And our last step, share your certificates achievements or certification achievements. So you can, once you're certified, you're free to post anywhere, thank the community, post on Twitter, post on LinkedIn, and also boost your resume. Because not everybody is opportunity to be certified by Microsoft, and it's a very great opportunity. Like, imagine how nice your resume will be with a Microsoft. So, Salim, please, the next slide. So with this, these are the eligible certifications available for students, and there are many fundamentals. Fundamentals before we starting. Please, is everybody hearing me? I don't know. I just went out and came back in now.
Okay, yeah, back now.
Yeah. So eligible certifications are provided by Microsoft for students. So these certifications are the fundamentals. These are the building blocks for you to get role-based certifications and expert certifications, because these are needed for Microsoft to know that yes, you understand what you are getting into. And for it to get role-based, you can't just jump up the ladder. You have to start somewhere. So this is the starting point. So we have the Microsoft Azure fundamentals that talks about Azure in general, how your business can scale on the cloud, Microsoft, and also for developers as well, how to work with Azure. Microsoft 365, how to use the Microsoft 365 Microsoft Azure AI for our AI engineers like Salim that built the AI translator app. Microsoft Azure Data Fundamentals for those interested in data engineering, and data science. Microsoft Power Platform, very important. Microsoft Power Platform is a very powerful platform. Like, in fact, we just need the Power Platform that you can use to build applications with no to low code tools. If we'll be having more events on that from the Microsoft community, you can do a lot of things with Power BI and the Power Platform as well. Microsoft Dynamics 365 fundamental CRM. If you're a business owner and you want to be able to have a good customer relationship management, it will be advisable you take this certification exam. Same with the rest, because you don't need to be a developer to have a technical skill. You can work with marketing, you can work with compliance, you can work with virtually. So from dynamics to security are basically business inclined technical skills. So you don't need to be a developer, you don't need to be coding Python, Rust, or C++ to have the certifications. So with this, I encourage everyone here on this call to give it a shot. Try and get at least one fundamental certification. It will be very nice. You don't know, maybe in the future you might need a role-based certification, and maybe that role-based certification will also need this fundamental. So let's just make good use of this opportunity. Now is free, and I guess we'll see each other at the top. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Michael. Wow, wow. What a presentation. Now you've said the best why for me now. Thank you very much for that, Michael.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Sam, for this opportunity.
That is all mine. All right, so let me see if there's anyone in the lobby. All right, we're good. So just to continue just to buttress the points Michael has raised, I really think that this opportunity is one we should not let slide. It's a really good opportunity to take these examinations that they are capable of taking your career to the next level, and then we have the opportunity to take them for free. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me basically. So that's that about that. So let's move to the next agenda, which is introduction to creating an AI web application. So before we move into this, let me talk about AI is like that's how I put it, like that thing nowadays. Everyone's always talking about AI. At Google I/O events the other day was all about AI. Most of their new features had to do with AI. I think two weeks after that, Microsoft Build held, and was all about AI, the AI features and all that. So AI has been like the catchword in the tech industry basically, and without an iota of doubts, it's understandable because I mean we're talking about something that's capable of what you're doing in essence is you're making a computer think like a human being. Regularly what we have is translators with people translate for you. Perhaps I'm going to another country, let's say Spain. I don't understand Spanish, and when I'm there, probably get to like hire a translator, a person that will translate for me. However, with recent advancements in technology, we don't need all that, because these computers have been trained to do those things that you normally expect of a human being. So before we get started, let's take a peek of the end results of the AI app I created. Sorry about that. It says translated. Okay, so here we go. So just to let you see what we are going to with this. Okay, I think my network is also bad. Taking longer than normal. Okay. So basically, this is the user interface. So let's try to translate. I am excited about this webinar. So I mean, let's see what language. So this one we have about, let's see, I think I have about 50 languages on here. So let's see, okay, let's say Portuguese. That will translate and comes back and returns this page. So I'm not very, my Portuguese is not good. I don't know Portuguese as a matter of fact, but I mean, it says this is it, so that makes sense. And I can easily choose another one. Let's say, so basically the app is also like detecting the language and then translating it to your target language. So I know bonjour should be hello in French. And yeah, I'm not wrong. I mean, so cheers to my French teacher from back in the day. All right, so let's get back. So that's the peak of what we're going to with this webinar. That's what we're trying to build. Creating a web application with AI does not need to involve a lot of code or creating services from scratch. We don't need all that. If you wanted to create a website that can translate text for the user or the front end, we want something that will allow us to integrate our services without having to jump through a lot of hoops. I'm not a front end developer, so I need like a framework that have done those things for me, and that's where Flask comes in. So Flask is the perfect framework for this. Flask is described by its creators as a micro framework, meaning it provides the core services required, such as routing, templating, but otherwise allows you to use whatever backend services your application needs. One other very important thing to note about Flask is that it's also lightweight, so making it quick to set up and deploy. You don't need a database or anything fancy. You just need a framework to create your UI and be able to call your backend service. So although this webinar is not a Flask webinar, I would just like to talk on the fundamentals because I would like to just touch on the important things, on the fundamentals that will be needed when we're actually building the app. So like I said earlier on, Flask is an open source web micro framework. This is very, very important, micro framework. When I use the term micro framework, I mean that the framework will perform the required task of a web framework, but it doesn't include advanced features or other specific requirements that your application must follow to work correctly. This approach allows Flask to be extremely flexible and perfect for use as a front end to existing backend or API like cognitive services. Cognitive services is Microsoft's AI services that makes it easier for you to use a couple of services that includes translation, basically. There are other ones which I'll touch on as time goes on. So when creating a web application with any framework, there are a couple of core concepts we need to understand. We need to understand routing, methods, and templating. So let's explore these concepts before we write our code. So responding to the user request routes. When a user uses a web application, they indicate what they want to do or the information they are seeking by browsing to a different uniform resource locator. I intentionally use the word uniform resource locator. I mean, we are so used to say URL. We often forget the meaning of URL. So what is what? URL means uniform resource locator. So basically, whenever let's using this website for as an example, adventureworks.com. Now, when you do this, when you input this on your web browser, what happens is that it takes you to your main page, right? And then /products, that takes you to the widgets for details. That /products takes you to where the products are, and then widgets for details on the widgets, right? And then if you want to, perhaps you are trying to like buy something there, you first of all go to your cart and then /buy. So basically, there are buttons that are linked to this routes. I don't know if that makes sense. That whenever I click this, it requests this route. Okay, take me to /buy. And then that button to the user in the front end probably have the buy icon there, or perhaps for the cart, we probably have a real world cart there that, well, in most e-commerce websites, the cart is always in the top right corner. Yeah, most times it's usually there. So whenever I click that, it takes you straight up to adventures.com/cart. Now, there are a lot of methods, like routes can be accessed in many ways, but there are which are known as methods. But there are two very common ones we will touch on today that will be used for this webinar. The first one is the get function, the get method rather. The second one is the post method. So regardless of the verb you use, it's important to note that information can always be returned to a user using get and post. Now, what's the difference between get and post? Awesome. So as a user, you're the client. The server is what we are going to set up here. Now, when the user requests for a form using get, what the server does is that it sends an HTML form to the user. That's a get. Now for post, when the user completes a form, see the difference? He hits submit, then the result is sent to the server using posts. What happens is that The server then processes the information and it sends the HTML results. So I hope you can like see the major difference between that while we post, the user is completing the form, you hit submit, then the result is sent using post. The server processes the information and then it sends the appropriate HTML results. So that's a major difference. There's a processing going on in posts, while in server is a simple, I send the result with get the simple, I send the request, I get my HTML results. And these are the syntaxes. You see, for the gets, it's basically just sending using render templates. We'll touch on render templates later on, and it sends back the index.html. And then for the app routes, using posts, basically it's sending not only the results, but then there's also like data going back in there. I don't know if that makes sense. So now I said we'll touch on templates. That's what we're doing right here. So Flask templates allow you to create a page structure while it's being able to dynamically display data. So something like this. Welcome. I'm going to create a variable name in your app.py, in your app file, that will be displayed here. So we're going to have to like do all those connections, and we'll see as time goes on. So this is not, although this is not a Flask webinar, I hope I'm able to like just touch on the basics rather. And let's just do this quick question. So let's go to the chat button. Let's try to attempt the question. I hope you can all see the question. Oh, there have been questions here. I will answer the question in due time, please. Okay, Ojon says C. All right. Anyone else thinks otherwise? Okay. All right. C. We have a lot of C's here. Yeah. So you guys really don't think you guys do it? You don't think you guys will know the GS? Okay. All right. So one more answer, and I'll we'll move on. All right. Thank you, Femi. Everyone says C. So yeah, you are right. The correct answer is C. Thank you, Odeon. Thank you, Stevens. Thank you, Femi. Thank you, Shegun. Thank you. I really hope I don't murder the name. Dasun. Thank you all. So before I go on, let me just answer. I think a few questions have come in here. Femi, you cannot turn your video on, your audio on. If you have a question, you can just put it in the chat box. Okay. Or what's wrong with the audio? I don't follow. Please, if you can clarify that, I'm sorry. Then Dasun asked, could you please discuss about the way of upgrading MLSC membership and all? All right, then we'll do that at the end of this webinar, please. All right, thank you very much. All right, so moving on. Now let's get to create the app itself. We've talked about the basics. We already know how Flask works, how render templates work, the basics of routing and all that. So now, for a step-by-step process to create the app, first of all, we have to set up an environment. Then we create the app. Then we create the translator service, and then we'll call the service from the app. That's the basic thing. So I was not able to like have a step-by-step. I could not like I had to do it on my GitHub basically. So after at the end of this webinar, I'll make the GitHub repository public. It's currently private. So here goes. Right, so this is the README file of the GitHub basically. My GitHub handle is Salim Codes. Do also follow me. I'll be sure to follow back as well. All right, so let's walk through this. So step by step hands-on process for replicating the AI translator created by Salim Oyelola. What you learn how to create. I mean, we already know that you will need Python and Visual Studio Code. I think it would be great if you can actually, as I'm doing this, you can just mirror it on your PC or something. Or perhaps at the end of the webinar, I would upload the recording to the Microsoft Learn Students Ambassador Nigeria's YouTube channel, and you can just watch it and then use it after. So basically, the first step is setting up your environment. At the very high level, we'll be performing the following task. We need to install Visual Studio Code. I have that installed. It's here. Awesome. You need to install Python. I also have that installed. We need to create a directory for your code where everything will be in. Then we need to create a virtual environment. We need to install Flask and other libraries. That's all I'm going to do. Those are the 5 things I have to do to set up my environment. I've done the first 2. So next step is creating a directory. So I'll navigate to hold on, what was that? Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, command prompt. All right, so awesome. So it says here that I should create a directory in a location of my choice. So I want to have it on my desktop. So I'll change my directory to desktop. Awesome. So now that we're there, I want the file here. So I'm on Windows. So the commands as follows. So basically, the name of the folder will be Contoso. I mean, quite random name here. And then now that I've created that directory, I want to go into that directory using cd Contoso. And now we are in the directory. So we've ticked that box. Next up, we want to create a virtual environment. A Python virtual environment is not necessarily as complex as it sounds. But basically, what you're doing is you're creating a container, a folder that contains all your library that will be needed to run your application, basically, including and then you're also going to include the Python runtime itself. So it says here that by using a virtual environment, we make our applications modular. That is allowing us to keep them separate from one another and avoid versioning issues. So as a best practice, you should always use virtual network when working with I say virtual networks, virtual environments when working with Python. So let's create that. Awesome. This might take a while. Any questions? Question response. So basically, we're working on this. While that's installing, let me okay, it's still installing, it might take a while. Or maybe you have any questions at this point, be sure to drop them now. That would be a great time to drop them basically. Oh, this is taking longer than I expected. Okay, let me just talk on. Oh yeah, Dasun asked a question earlier on about Microsoft about being an alpha ambassador. Said, can you please discuss about the way of upgrading MLSA alpha membership? So yeah, if I assume you're a alpha by MLSA, you're trying to. I think the major thing you have to do is host an event where you educate people about Microsoft technologies. That's there. Okay, about the GitHub repository, I'll definitely share that at the end of the webinar. Right now, the repository is private though. By the end of the webinar, I'll make it public and I'll share. This is taking longer than expected. Just hang on, please. So I don't know if you got that Dashin, but I'll do that at the end of the webinar. All right, awesome. So we've added we've had the virtual environments created. Now we want to activate it. So usually we have something like this. Scripts. Activate. And basically it has been activated. That's why we have the VM, that's virtual environment, that's been activated. So now let's go back to the repository. So basically, this is what I did. Obviously, they're on Mac, OS or Linux. The command is a bit different. Now, the next thing I want to do is I have to install Flask and other libraries. For that, I'll be creating a requirements.txt file, and then I'll then add all the libraries I'm going to need. I'll add them here, and then I will install the requirements.txt file. If you are quite conversant with Python, what I'm doing should not be very new to you. So I'll find my way to I'll find my way to Visual Studio Code. Usually, I open Visual Studio Code manually, but you can also the command code space full stop box, that would automatically open it up for you. So I didn't do that. I just opened it normally. That works as well. So I'll be coming here and I'm sorry, I'm trying to open a file, not a folder. A folder, not a file rather. So I'll open the folder. The folder I created, if you remember, was in desktop, and I named the control so. So I want to open that here. And, let's check what the next step is. So it says that I'll have to create the requirement.txt file, add all this there, and then I'll save it, and then pip install this. So awesome, it's created. So I'll come here and create the new file, requirements.txt. Okay. So then I'll copy and paste the requests. So these are the libraries I'll be needing for the app. So I save them here. Come back to Python. I'll come back to my command line, and what I want to do is pip install our requirements for texting. So what that does is that it installs everything we need. Basically, Flask, Python. As you can see, it's collecting Flask already. Python.env and request. Those are the three libraries that will be needed to go on with this. So once that's done, the next thing we're going to do is create the app. I think I saw a question earlier. Let me see. Oh, obviously, yeah. Flavor, I'll be sure to share the recording once we're done with this. I've talked with Nehemiah. We're going to have it on the Microsoft Lens Students Ambassador Nigeria's YouTube page. So I'll definitely do that. However, I've not missed much actually. We're just talking about the basics of Flask before you came in. Right. So it's still collecting. So while that's going on, after that, what I'm going to be doing is that after setting up the environment, we'll create the projects, and we'll do that with an app.py file. So I'll create an app.py file. Awesome, it's done. So I'll come back here and I'll create an app.py file. So this is where the app will run itself, and then we'll come back. Where is that again? So I'm coming back here. So basically, when we're creating the app, we have three things to do. We have to create our core applications. We have to add the routes to application. So you create the application. I talked about routing earlier on. So you create the routing. I also talked about templates. You'll create the HTML templates, and then we test our application. Right. So add this code to your Flask application. Right then. Let's do that. So that's the app.py file. We add that here. Then we come back. We come back here. So the important statements includes reference to Flask, which is the only core of our Flask application. We use render templates in a while, but that's very, very important. Then the next thing to do is now add the routes for your application. So you add the following code to your app.py. Basically, what you're doing the routes is the application will need one route. This is like should I say the home page? This is the first one. That's why this that's a forward slash. There's nothing preceding it. So basically the home page here, using a get statement to get an index.html file. So let's give it a lot of space. I think the convention is usually to space. Then the importance, okay. The next thing to do is okay, we've done this. And then all right. So now the next thing to do is like, I've talked about we are rendering the index.html, right? But then like there's no record of index.html. So I have to create the index.html. Before we do that, because we're going to be using the render template, I have to first of all create a template folder in the roots folder. And you want to pay attention here. So first thing I'll do is create a templates folder. A folder named templates basically. So I've done that. Now I have to create an index.html file. Now I don't want the file here. I want it inside the templates. That's very, very important. So I have a new file inside templates, and I call it index.html. All right, awesome. Now, what do we have here? I'm going to be pasting this there, and let's have this. Isn't that awesome? So basically, let me just walk through the HTML file. What we are doing is I just created a page. The page is going to have a header that says translation services. It's going to give the user what they have to do, which is enter the text you wish to translate, and also ask them to choose the language. If you remember the demo I showed earlier of the end results, something similar to that, we're going to have that here. Now, for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to be having just 5 languages. Just 5 languages: English, Italian, Japanese, Russian, and German. That's 5 languages. Let's just work with those 5. And basically, this is a form. So you're going to pick the one you want to translate to. Let me save that, and let me come back and save my app.py. So then we come back, and what we want to do next is test our application, because at this point we have a Flask server running. We can actually test it. So let's first of all do this so that I won't have to like reload every time I make a change. So we come back here and we paste. So that's done. Up next, now let's actually run the Flask server. Flask run. Awesome. So it's telling me that it's running already. I have to navigate to this URL. I hope you can all remember the meaning of URL. I talked about it earlier, but I feel like when this time and day, no one says the meaning no more. Like it's always just there. All right, hold on. That's wrong. Okay. Oh, let me have it. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So just reach out to us when after the meeting. That would be great. All right then. So basically, let's test our app. Currently, it's no use. Okay, finally it's running, and we have it. Awesome, isn't this awesome? So we've been able to run this Flask, and let's see. Salim is awesome. Obviously you can't run yet because we've not connected it. So, but then we have the first page. So we have this already set up. Now let's go to the next page. The next step rather. Find our way here. So now let's create the translator service. So now we have the infrastructure running already on our Python.py. Now we need the backend to connect it to the translation service. Now, regularly, I'm a machine learning engineer, and NLP is one field that, if you want to train a model to do this, you need data sets, you need, a reasonable computing power. I don't need a lot of things that will just make the whole task. I don't use what tiring, but basically, it's not going to be, it will be fun because you learn a lot from that experience. But let's assume I'm creating a fintech app and I want to have it translate some languages. I'm not sure I want to devote that much resource to NLP when I can just use the Microsoft service here. I think that makes sense. So once the project is up and running, we'll create the necessary services on Azure. We'll obtain any keys for the service. Okay. So first we have to do is browse to the Azure portal. Usually, if you don't have an Azure account, you need to create an account, but I have an account, and like I said earlier, when as a student, when you get to Azure, first of all, you'll be given $200 in Azure credits. We can just keep deploying on and on. And you just work with cloud and see the amazing things you can do with the cloud. Like the amazing things. Awesome. So I got this. Right. And it says browse to it. Now select create a resource. So what do we have that awesome? We have it here. Now while that's loading, what's the next step? In the search box, enter translation. So I'm going to copy and paste that. Okay. It says in the search box, this is the search box, enter translator, enter. And what's the next thing I have to do? I'll select translator. So it says I'll select it. Oh, did I select it? Let's see that. Oh, I did apparently. And Got it. So next thing I have to do is create translation. Nice. So select. Awesome, I did not select. And creates. I'm sorry about the background noise, by the way. My neighbors. So now, basically, I'll just walk you through the configuration of this section. Subscription. I have a subscription running. Yours will probably be something in the line of students subscription or something to that effect, basically. Then resource groups. I reckon I will need to create a new one. I have a couple ones I've used out here, but then yeah, I was right. So let's create a new one and do all this. So let's create a new one. Let's name it I don't know. Yeah, webinar. And name it that. Okay. Awesome. I created a new one. What region do I want it at? The rule of thumb is that for the region, they are often advised to pick a region close to where you stay. So I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, and although my geography is not very strong, I reckon West Europe should be. It should be quite close. How far can it be? And then this name should be universally unique. So let's have Azure AI web translator. I hope we don't have something like this already. Azure AI Salim. I don't think we should have anything like this. And pricing here. Okay, normally it should be a free. There will be an F1 here, but because I've created one before, I have to use the standard, so I actually have to pay. I've got credits as a student. I have credits, but Azure has given me credit as a student. So standard S1, pay as you go. Awesome. Okay, we keep moving. Just leave everything as it is, and then create and review. So basically, that's what's explained here. Last now I'm just going to wait for it to create. After a few moments, the resource will be created. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. So it's creating already. Can any framework, obviously I can use any framework, I use Django, but I chose to use Flask because I'm not going to connect to database and all that, just something small, like a micro framework basically. But yeah, I reckon any framework can be used apart from Flask. So the deployment is still in progress. If you have any other questions, please drop them in the chat box. Let's talk. Right. So all right. So it says here, I think says I need to go to the resource. Yeah, I need to go to resource. So go to the resource, not resource group, resource. Okay, yeah. So what else does it say? It says select keys and endpoints under resource management. Okay. Under resource management, select keys and endpoints. Here we go. Awesome. So now we have the keys and then you have the location. So those are the two things you're going to need. So as it is, a translation service has been created on the cloud, has been deployed. Now all I need to work with my Python file locally is just to import the keys and the location. How easy can it doesn't get easier than this basically. So I'll copy them to my clipboard. And before I copy them, I need to create a .env file to store these keys. Now, it's very, very important whenever you're working with keys and things like password, keys, endpoints. Whenever, do not add code them in your app.py file. The rule of thumb or the convention by industry standard is usually create a .env file and have it there. It's highly discouraged that you add code your keys, your passwords, and all that. So I'll be creating a .env file. Go back to Visual Studio Code. I have it as .env. Okay. And then you want to place that here. So now, obviously, my key is not actually your key, and my endpoint is not my endpoint. My location is not my location as well. So what I've used here is what I'll be using there. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'll make it go back. So I'll be copying the key. I'll come back here. The keys, any one of the keys work actually. But I'll take key one. Anyone works, like anyone would do the job. Then I'll key one. Awesome. So next up, my endpoints. I'll go back to the place endpoints. Now the endpoints doesn't change actually, because you see there's no endpoints here. I don't have this here. Okay. Actually, okay. I want to come here. So my endpoint doesn't change. So basically, your endpoint is your https.api Microsoft Translation, MicrosoftTranslator.com. So that won't change. So I'll change my endpoint to that. Oh no, I did not copy that. Let's copy and you paste it back here. And then my location, the location, obviously I'm going to have Lagos, Nigeria here. I have the location that I use there, the location and region where the cloud server is hosted. We come back here and then we want to have the West Europe here. Is that clear? So basically we've imported the service, and up next, see how seamless this is. Like now we've created the app, we've created the service, we have to connect them, right? So call the service from the app. To do this, close out the workshop. To close out the workshop, we need to add the call to the code. So basically, three things you have to do. You add the code to call the service, a code that will basically do that. You create the templates to display the results. Because what we have, the template we created earlier is the index.html. So we're going to create a result.html that will display the results, and then we test the application, and we're done. Paola. So basically, let's try to add code that would call the API. So at the very top of the app.py, we're going to add this. Basically, we are now importing, because now we're going to, earlier we didn't need to make requests, we didn't need to convert to a JSON file and all that. So now we're going to need that. So the very first thing, you go back to your app.py file, and at the top, we copy and paste. Okay, let's set at the top. So just so we're clear, let's just have that here. And so the top, okay, now at the bottom of the app.py, add the following lines of code. So I will explain these lines of code. Okay, this is quite, it's alerts. Yes, I need alerts. But I'll explain it basically. What it's doing at the very high level, what the code is doing is connecting the API to connecting the endpoint, the service endpoint you just created, connecting it to the app. That's basically what it's doing at the very high level. But then I'll break the entire function down and I'll talk about it, block by block. I don't think I'll do line by line, just block by block. And so basically, what I did now is I talked about get and post earlier. I talked about how get is able to just get an information. You send a request, it gets it, and it returns the results. I will post, you fill a form, you get it, and then it returns the result. It processes it. Basically, the major difference is the processing, right? So now we post. Now we're going to be using, if we used the get earlier for the index.html, now we're going to be using the posts for this, for the results.html. So first of all, we're going to read the values from the form, which is the original text, request of form. If you recall, the form, when you use the form, the very first thing I created earlier, there are two things you'll be imputing that the program needs. The text you impute, which should be collected using the request of form, and then the language, if you recall, there was a form basically, should I say a form? Or a form whereby you pick the language. I think I picked Portuguese in the earlier example. So basically you have to read the values from the form, from the get. Next up, you have to load the values from the end. If you recall that the service endpoints that time, I told us that it's best we have them, we don't add code them in the app.py. We have them somewhere else and then we call it from that place and then we load the values like we're doing here. So then we do that. That's what this tail line is doing. You use the operating system module. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to indicate that you want to translate the API version 3.0 and the translation version, and then you add the target language to it. So you add the target language to it, and then you create the full URL. So basically, that's what you're doing. Just all these at a very high level. What you're just trying to do is just call the service. Now you set up the other information, which includes our subscription key, the location. Awesome. And now you create the body of the request with the text to be translated. So now you create the body of the request with text translated. You're going to be using this variable will be called at the end of this post function. Just open. Now you make the call using posts. You make the call constructed URL. Because I will use constructed URL, which is the endpoint for the path, plus the target language parameter. And then I'm going to have it sent as a JSON file. You retrieve the JSON response, translation response, translator response.json. I'm very sorry if I'm going a bit too fast. I don't want to talk too much into Flask because that would be like an entire tutorial on its own. Sounds like talk about the code, what the code is doing at the very high level. Now, translated text is now equals to, what you're doing basically is retrieving the translation. And that's also because I don't want to talk too much about Flask. That's why if you pay attention, you realize that the code is heavily commented on. So you can basically understand what's happening without even knowing the syntaxes of Python. It's heavily commented on. And then you now call the render templates. We talk about render templates a lot. So basically, this HTML, now we have just index. But after this, I'm going to create a results.html. Right? After creating that, I'm going to pass in the variables of the translated text. I want to, if you recall, at the end, the result had translated text, it had original text, and it had the target language. So I'm going to pass in all three variables that have been created in this function. I'm going to be returning all of them back. And then in the result.html, a variable of the same name will be created to link both of them together. Basically, that's what we're doing at a very high level. At this point, I feel like I've put a lot of information out there. So if you have any questions, ask. I feel like I put a lot of information out there. So if you have any information, just ask. If you have any questions, rather ask. Let's see. Any questions? Any questions at all? All right, so I'll take that as a no. Awesome. So I hope you all understood because I feel like I did a lot in that function. So if you have any questions, just ask. Awesome. So now we've created the post. Now the code is commented. I can explain the code also. So basically, not only is it heavily commented on, you also like find the entire explanation when I make this public. Okay, so you can also find what I'm doing there, and you understand. Now the next thing to do is create the templates to display the results. We're getting towards the end. Now I'll go back to that templates file, to that templates folder rather. I'll create a new file called results.html, and I'll add the following code there. So let's go back. It's very, very important that you create this folder inside templates and not inside the root folder. So we have a new file. Call it result.html, and voila, we have it. And so we come back here and add the following HTML to result.html. So I'll also talk about what this code is doing at a very high level. So obviously, the same way this is not a Flask tutorial, so it's also not a HTML fundamentals tutorial. So basically, but then it doesn't take a genius to understand what's going on basically. So I'll just do that. So we don't need all that. Just first of all, the header will be results. You're going to see results on top. I'm going to see an original text, and then this right here, this is the variable. This is the text that'll be shown out. This is the variable. I talked about the variable in my app.py file. So basically, original text here corresponds to this. Translated text here corresponds to this. And same way with target language. And then we call the URL I had earlier on. So basically, you try another one. What that will do is basically to just take it back to the index.html file. That's why it says URL for index, basically. And then we save that. And with that, we're done. So basically, let's run it again, and then you'd see what happened. Oh, my bad. Basically, if you reload this, it should work. Okay, so this works fine. So let's translate to Japanese. Nerves of steel. It works. So you see, I don't know about Japanese, but it says this is it. So let's copy this back, and let's have it back. I hope you can see my screen. I feel like my browser is a bit small. Let me try to increase the font size. Okay, awesome. So basically, now it's not translated back to English, and yeah, it says it works fine. So as you can see, I mean, this did not take 30 minutes. I don't think it took 30 minutes, and we could see it works seamlessly basically, and the code works fine. I'm going to be uploading this on GitHub. I'll be making the folder files basically. So obviously, if you look at this and then you look at this and then you look at what we had with the translator, the one I made public. So basically, you can also deploy that. I deployed this, and people have been using it since then. So basically, although this looks a little more fancy than what we have here, it's just the same. It's the same concept, just a little HTML here and there, and that was it. So they both work fine. If I include the Japanese back here, um, this works fine. So they both work fine. So at the end of the day, you can actually deploy this using Azure. I'm not going to talk about using Azure for deployment today. I'm just going to talk about having it locally. If you want to know more about how to deploy Azure, how to deploy it on Azure, because Azure not only offers you free services, you can also deploy for free. Like it's a lot of benefits you can actually get with Azure out there. Like the information is not just out there. Like that's what I'm trying to do here. Just let you guys know about this. So that's that about that. So at this point, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. Let me make the repository private. Okay. Public rather. I'll share the link to that obviously. Also, for more, we're going to probably have more webinars. You can follow me on Twitter for more updates at Salim Opines, basically. Let me change the visibility first. Make it public. So the awesome. So it's been made public, and let me just get you the URL. What can we learn how to deploy Azure? You can text me privately, perhaps at Salim Opines. I'll guide you on that. Or maybe sometime down the line, probably have a webinar to that effect, where we're going to continue from this point and we're going to deploy on Azure. Basically, deploying on Azure, you can do it in different ways. You can use your Azure CLI. You can use this portal here. I come here and actually deploy. That works as well. If you are conversant with Iwoku and Netlify, it's similar to what you do there. Okay. And lastly, my personal favorite is you can deploy from your Visual Studio Code. Like basically, I can deploy from here directly. So you see you're going to you log in, you have your subscriptions on can deploy your web apps, your functions, your database, you name it, anything you can think of, any service that is basically available on Azure, you can actually, and that's to do with code, you can actually have it here on your Visual Studio Code. This is taking longer than normal. I want to show you the web apps here, and you see them deployed here. So basically, oh yeah, awesome. So you see my app services here, and then you see translated by Salim. It's deployed. Yeah, so that's that. Any other questions? So to follow me on Twitter. On Twitter, you can just connect, talk, talk about the biggest what's happening in tech. I'm very, very interested in AI. So anything AI, cloud, Azure in particular, that's for the cloud. And I think with that, we've come to the end of the webinar. I'm surprised that no one has a question though. Can you tell me you understand everything we talked about today? I don't know why that's not here. Interesting. Basically, let's see this. So basically, anyone have a question? Odion, Shagun, Tasson, Prince, Flora, Uzochukwu, Rachel, Adeleke, Oluwafemi. Anyone has a question? Okay, so in the absence of any questions, we've come to the end of the webinar. Oh yeah, we had the giveaway session. Thank you very much, Stephen. The very first person who got this answer correctly first. Odion, okay, Odion. So I'll reach out to Odion. We have a gift for you. So, just an MLSC, isn't it? Okay, I think Odion is typing. Once it's on, perhaps he has a question. Let me just allow you use your audio if that's more. Okay, thank you. Great job. Thank you, Noah Shagur. So you have a question, great presentation. Thank you very much. All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Have a great week as well. Pleasure. It's been my pleasure to have this webinar session just to educate one another about Microsoft products. All right, ciao. Bye.